Football finance is a tremendously difficult subject to understand. For the average football fan who cares mostly about how their club performs on the pitch, it is of very little interest until the transfer window opens. In the mega-rich age, the correlation between transfer expenditure and the success on the pitch is increasingly difficult to ignore. This leaves fans desperate to see their clubs strive to improve their squads as much as possible during the hectic transfer windows. And any window without significant investment is seen by many as a wasted opportunity to improve the team. All clubs in Europe are subject to UEFA's Financial Fair Play regulations, FFP. Clubs are limited to how much money they are allowed to lose over a rolling 3-year period. Any losses greater than the pre-prescribed limit during the said 3-year period are required to be covered by the club's investors or through increased revenue in other areas like sponsorship and matchday revenue. Fans of Premier League clubs have an even more difficult job when trying to figure out their club's financial health, because the EPL has their own set of financial rules that clubs must follow. These rules are further broken down into 2 separate regulations: profitability and sustainability rules, which are called PSR, and short-term cost controls, which are called STCC. PSR is essentially the EPL's specific version of UEFA's Financial Fair Play rules, which is intended to keep clubs from spiralling into uncontrollable debt, with clubs at present day only allowed to lose 105 million over a 3-year period. STCC is what prevents clubs spending enormous amounts of money each season on players' wages. At present, clubs are only allowed to increase their wage bill by £7 million per season. So you may ask, what does this have to do with Arsenal? PSR can be a major concern. However, for Arsenal, a club who have cleared a pre-tax profit every season but one since 2002, this is not a concern. Instead, their 2-year drop into the Europa League and static sponsorship revenue has made STCC their biggest hindrance to free spending in the transfer market. With one of the largest wage bills in the world of football and the 5th largest in the Premier League, the loss of revenue from the Champions League has been painful. Missing out on the extra revenue of the Champions League has served to offset any gains from other revenue streams that factor into the STCC calculations, leaving the Gunners rather close to the standard wage growth cap of 7 million per season. The Gunners spent handsomely on wages over the last 12 months, with a new contract for Mirza Ozil, high wages for both January 2018 arrivals Henrik Mkhitaryan and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and a summer window that saw 5 new players arrive at the club. Despite this growth being offset by the expiring contracts of Jack Wilshere, Santi Cazorla and Per Mertesacker, the Gunners are operating tight to their allowance for yearly growth. This has drastically limited their ability to spend this January. Arsenal Football Club currently turn over somewhere in the region of £427 million per year. That is met with pre-tax profits of £45 million. Gate and matchday income is at £100 million. TV and broadcasting yearly brings in £199 million. Not to mention £26 million from retail, £91 million in commercials, £1 million in property development, player trading yielding them profits of around £7 million on average. But one big myth to debunk today is that Arsenal have no debt. Arsenal Football Club still owe £47 million of debt on the stadium, which includes a further £15 million of interest payable. Arsenal fans assume that their rivals were unaffected and therefore feel they should blame Stan Kroenke. Many have been irked by the spending restrictions this January, and sadly one statistic in particular has done much to add to this confusion: investment by ownership. In order to increase the standard annual 7 million boost to their wage bill allowance, clubs are allowed to use revenue from matchday income, sponsorship income and profits from player transactions. Given Arsenal are in a healthy financial state, including extremely bountiful cash reserves, there is no need for an increased investment from Stan Kroenke to remain FFP compliant. To put it simply, even if the American deposited £100 million into Arsenal's accounts tomorrow, it would have no practical effects on their ability to spend this January, as owner contributions are not allowed to impact the wage bill allowance constructed within the STCC. So you may ask yourself, are Arsenal finished as a top club? The Gunners will soon have far more money to play with in the summer, and should they return to the Champions League after 2 years in the Europa League, the job becomes even easier. Those long-term sponsorship deals we mentioned that were static come to an end at the end of the 2019 season. A new 5-year deal with the Emirates airline for both shirt sponsor and stadium naming rights will kick in this summer with an estimated value worth over £200 million. All being told, the Gunners will immediately have more than £50 million extra to play with under the STCC, and this will give them the much needed breathing room to expand their wage bill and compete with the other top 6 rivals on a spending front. Additionally, the Gunners will see the wages of Laurent Koscielny, Aaron Ramsey, Petr Cech and maybe Liechtenstein come off their books in June, saving the Gunners a further £500,000 in wages per week. Arsenal's recent financial restrictions have been the result of a near-perfect storm. It may take a few more years to see how their plan to reshape the future of Arsenal Football Club transpires. But for the first time in many, many years, fans have the confidence in the club's ability to adapt. Please leave us your comments below, subscribe, and we'll see you all again very, very soon.